Okay, hello everyone. I think we are going to go ahead and get started today. So very first, I'm going to turn the time over to Sadie just for a quick announcement for you, and then we can get started.
Hi everyone, it's Sadie, your Healthy Lifestyles Wellness Coordinator. We are so excited to have you here today to talk about summer nutrition. I am going to put the link in the chat box throughout our workshop today so you can earn points for participating. And feel free to put any questions that you have in the chat box and we will relay that to Juliana, our presenter for today. I'll turn the time over to you, Juliana.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sadie. Thank you, Megan. Thank you guys so much for having me today. My name is Juliana Betker. I work at St. Mark's Hospital and I work in outpatient nutrition counseling there. Today, we're going to talk about the ABCs of summer nutrition. I think this is a great topic, especially because, summer is really fun, but we also get really off of our routine. So sometimes it can be a little bit harder to stick to some healthy habits when you're on the go and there's lots of fun things happening like traveling and pool parties and barbecues and all of that kind of stuff. So I think this is great to help bring a little bit of some of those healthy habits back in while still having a good time and enjoying your summer the way that you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and start this slideshow here. And you guys can hear me okay, right? Megan and Sadie, just want to make sure.
Yeah, you're good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Just wanted to double check before I kept going here. Okay, so we're going to start off with the A of these ABCs of summer nutrition. So A is for air travel, especially this summer. A lot of people have started flying again for traveling, and there's really some key things we want to focus on within that air travel. So it's hydration, meals, and snacks. So starting off with hydration, we hear all the time about, when you're flying, it can be a lot more difficult to stay hydrated. They give you some little water bottles on the plane, but sometimes that's not really enough, depending on how far you're going. So bring your own water bottle. I don't know, some people don't think about this. Of course, you cannot take liquids through security, but if you have an empty reusable water bottle with you, you can take that through security with you and then fill it up on the other side. A lot of airports now have really great water bottle fillers too. So if you have a bigger water bottle, you can just put that right in and it's motion sensor and will fill up for you. If you want something other than just plain water, a really good alternative is to bring flavor enhancers with you. So, some little Crystal Light packets or the Mio drops can all be good options. Generally, you really want to avoid alcohol and caffeine if you're trying to stay hydrated. These are very dehydrating components. So, the other problem is if you're drinking a lot of alcohol and caffeine when you're on the plane, you're also risking having to climb over all the other passengers to go to the bathroom pretty frequently. They can also leave you feeling really sluggish when you get to your destination. So really making sure that you're drinking plenty of fluids is a very important thing to focus on when you are flying. As far as meals go, it can be really beneficial to plan in advance. If you're on a short flight, you may not need to plan as much. Maybe just planning a couple of snacks is fine. But if you are, especially flying across the country or flying internationally, having more food with you can be really helpful. Especially if you're not a huge fan of plain food. So buy some food in advance. Make sure that you pack it up the night before. There's nothing worse than being late and stressed for a flight the morning of, and other things always come up. So it's really good if you have everything packed up and ready to go with you. Having food with you also really helps you control control what you can when you're flying. Sometimes there are flight delays, maybe you're at an airport that has no good food options, things like that. So if you have planned ahead, you are saving time, so you're not having to try to run and stop somewhere to pick something up, and as well as money while you are flying. Mini meals versus large lunches. I think mini meals are great because packing small meals that can be divided into several bits throughout the travel can be great because you tend to get hungry when you travel, especially if you're just sitting on the plane for a long period of time. So things like cured meats and crackers, hard cheeses, like the Babybel cheese are great, or cheese sticks, fresh or dried fruit can be great. Bring a little treat to satisfy your sweet tooth if you want something, or you could, save that for something that they're giving you on the plane as well. And you could also do a sandwich. If you're doing something that has deli meat on it, of course, you're going to want to eat that a lot earlier in your flight, but you could also do something that would last a little bit longer, like a peanut butter and jelly, for example. Pack that food in reusable or disposable bags. That way you can just discard it when you're done with it, or fold it up and use it later in your trip. Make sure that, to keep things clean, pack some wet wipes, pack some folded up paper towels with you. Just in case you do accidentally spill something or make a mess, you've got that handy. And FIFO stands for first in, first out. Make sure that you're just eating the most perishable things first. All right, as far as snacks goes, packing your own snacks is generally, they're just going to be a lot better options. A lot of times they'll be more satisfying and fill you up a little bit more. The little bags of pretzels they give you on the plane are not always the most filling thing if you're truly hungry. So making pre-portioned bags of nuts or trail mix can be great, especially if you're choosing your own nut options. You can also choose those that are lower in sodium, which is nice. For fruit and veggies, things like baby carrots, snap peas, and celery are good. Whole fruits like apples, grapes, clementines are nice because they kind of come in their own package. Are all good things. Are not going to get squished. If you do want to take something that like berries or something that's going to get squished more easily, make sure that you're taking it in a little small container so that you're protecting it and don't end up with a mess on your hands later on. And then fruit leather, so 100% made out of 100% fruit, and applesauce pouches are really good for fruit options as well that are non-perishable. Add some dips and spreads so you can add some protein and some fat to your snack. So things like they've got the really nice individual packets now, like hummus and guacamole. Pouches of nut butters can be great, and low-fat dressings can be a good option as well. And then for protein, to make sure that you're really staying on top of that hunger, things like beef jerky are good. String cheese, you could do a low sugar yogurt. That could last for a little while. That'd be something you'd want to eat earlier on unless you're taking a cold pack with you. You could do things like tuna pouches and hard-boiled eggs. If you wanted to do something like that, I would recommend, just for the sake of your fellow passengers, maybe not eating that on the plane, but in the airport where you have a little bit better airflow. You could also do things like the frozen yogurt tubes that they sell. If you freeze them and then take them, it can double as an ice pack, which can be pretty nice and useful. All right, so we're going to move on to B here in the ABC. So B is for barbecue. So we're going to talk about food safety, salads and sides, and then portion sizes when you are eating out at parties. All right, so food safety first. Make sure that when especially this is more if you're hosting the barbecue, but using a meat thermometer is really helpful in making sure that you have all of your meat done to the correct temperature. So there's a temperature guide that I have here so that you know what meat should be cooked to. So for fish, you're looking for about 145. Poultry is going to be 165. Pork is 145 for like a whole pork. If you're doing like a pork chop, or pulled pork should be 205. And then beef really just depends on how well done you want your beef. So it varies a little bit, but here's a guide for you. The nice thing about using a meat thermometer is not only are you making sure that your meat is cooked to temperature so that it will be safe for everyone to eat, it's also helpful because then you don't have to cut into that meat to check for the doneness, and then you're losing a lot of the juiciness when you do that. So that helps with the overall quality as well. You also want to make sure with this that you're keeping raw foods and cooked foods separate. Be conscious of the time that your food is left out. If you've got a barbecue and you're starting at 5 p.m. and it goes really long into the evening, just be aware that there are some things that may need to be put back in the fridge so it's not sitting out for 4 or 5 hours at a time. It can be easy to forget when you're just wrapped up and having fun. Also consider using covers to keep pests away. So if there's bees and flies and things like that, you can get some mesh covers that are really nice to put over your food to help prevent bugs from getting on your proteins and your salads. So as far as your salads go, sometimes if you're going out and you've got certain goals you're trying to meet, trying to eat a little bit healthier, or balance your meals a little bit better, it can be hard to find that depending on where you are. Sometimes you might feel like there's no good options. So take it upon yourself to bring a healthier entree, bring something to add to it so you can have some of the other things that you want to eat, but also know that you can fill up on something a little bit healthier as well. Oven baked fries are something that's great rather than like a potato salad that has a lot of mayonnaise on it, or deep fried potatoes. Removing your skins from meat. So removing the skin from chicken in particular helps reduce a lot of the fat content from that. And then where you can, trying to incorporate some more fiber, so some more whole grain. So if you're doing, hot dog buns, hamburger buns, trying to focus on choosing whole grain buns for those foods. And here we've got perfectly portioned. So this is just an idea to help give you a little bit of some guidelines around how much of each type of food group you should be eating. So typically a serving of protein, you want it to be about the size of your palm. So whether you have like a piece of chicken or a patty, that's what you're looking at for protein. Serving of vegetables is about the size of your fist. A serving of fat, so that could be nuts or mayonnaise or cheese, it's about the size of your thumb. And then a serving of carbohydrates is about one cupped hand. So that's about equivalent to, depending on the size of your hand, about 1 cup of food. And that could be pasta or potato chips or potato salad or macaroni and cheese for your carbohydrates. All right, so C is for car trip. I personally love car trips in the summer, and I really take a lot of this stuff, take a lot of these tips into my own travel. So I hope you guys find them useful as well. So a couple of things we're going to go over for that car trip. One is beginning with breakfast. Keep a cooler and making sure that dinners are deliberate are all things that are going to help you have a healthier, more nutritious car trip. So start with breakfast. It can be really easy when you want to get on the road to, get up and get out the door and just skip breakfast altogether. It's really important that you are eating breakfast. It's going to help keep your energy levels constant for a long trip. It's going to help manage your hunger levels for the whole day. So we really want to use the plate method here. So when we looked at that portion, or at those portion sizes a couple slides ago for the barbecue, making sure that you've got some carbs, you've got some protein, and you have some fiber. So that could be fruit instead of vegetables in the case of breakfast. Usually cereal's not going to be your greatest choice here unless it's like a low sugar, high fiber cereal, and making sure that you're pairing it with other foods. So like some yogurt for some protein, some fruit for some fiber there. Other protein choices could be things like eggs, Canadian bacon or turkey bacon are good options. They are a little bit higher in protein and lower in sodium typically than like your regular pork bacon. Cottage cheese, nuts, and nut butters are all going to be good options. That's going to help you make sure that you have a balanced breakfast. You do want to limit your liquid calories. So, especially things like juices, you do want to be picky with your juices. They are high in sugar, even though they are natural sugar, and they don't have any fiber once that juice has been removed from the rest of the fruit. So, look for 100% natural juice if you're choosing juice, and try to limit to about 4 ounces or half a cup rather than 8 ounces if you are going to choose juice for your breakfast. So really think about skipping the extras. Don't feel the need to try one of everything. If you're at a hotel that has a buffet, it can be really tempting to go through the whole buffet and want to try a little bite of everything. Kind of take a tour of the buffet first. Go check it out before you grab your plate and look at what you really want to try. So think about avoiding some of the higher fat and higher sugar items, so that things like pastries and donuts and biscuits and gravy, fried hash browns, things like that, those are going to leave you feeling tired and sluggish later on. Choosing more, again, the proteins and some of the fruits and things like that are going to help fill you up and help you feel good for longer into that trip. Also take something to go. Nobody's going to say anything if you grab a couple extra pieces of fruit, maybe a yogurt to stick in your cooler for a mid-morning snack. That can be really helpful. All right, so keeping a cooler in the car is something that I pretty much always do. And it's really up to you. If you want to get really fancy with it, they do have coolers that actually like plug into your car and will like stay cool, like a little refrigerator in your car. You can also just fill up one up with ice, and if you're going a long way, drain the water out of the bottom of it and just add some more ice on top to make sure you're keeping everything nice and cool and fresh. So put that in your car, and consider packing a picnic for at least one of your meals. I think lunch is a really easy one to do this with rather than having to stop at fast food. It can also be a nice option to stop and have your picnic and get out of your car and stretch your legs and sit outside for a moment as well, which is another thing that I enjoy about this. So, again, putting things like some fruits and vegetables, packing a couple of sandwiches, having some yogurts in there are all going to be great options to keep in that cooler to have with you on the go. And really investing in go to the dollar store because they're not very expensive, and invest in some organizers and like a little snack bin to keep in your car too. That way you don't feel like when you open your cooler or you're looking around your car for, snacks that you have in there that everything's kind of thrown all over the place and you're digging through tons of ice trying to find what you want. This can be really useful as well to make it feel a lot more efficient when you are ready for lunch. Okay, so deliberate dinners. Know before you go. So if depending on what your destination is, taking a couple minutes to do some research on where you want to go and what you're going to eat can be helpful for you to allow you to make some better choices. So whether that's a restaurant that you want to try and it's something local, or if it's fast food and you kind of know that that's your only option, that's okay too. Sometimes that's just the way that it is. You can absolutely make good choices at fast food restaurants as well. So, an easy way to approach where you're eating, regardless of where it is focusing on grilled versus fried foods. So, grabbing a grilled chicken sandwich versus a fried chicken sandwich, or some kind of grilled entree is going to help reduce not only fat, but oftentimes like sodium significantly in the number of calories in the entrees that you are choosing as well. And then looking at your sides. So, think about making sure that you're adding some color to your plate. And usually adding color to your plate means adding some type of a vegetable. So whether that's a side salad or, swapping out some fries for, some coleslaw or something like that to make sure that you're getting a little extra fiber and a little bit of extra nutrition in with your meal can help add to that a lot. And even if you still get some French fries or something that you really love, it's all about balance. So, just thinking about what can you add to your plate, not necessarily like, do I need to like take everything away that I like, but what can you add to make sure that you're adding more fiber and adding nutrition when you're eating your dinners. All right, I just thought this was funny. So I just realized that my car has a built-in taco holder. So you can fit your taco and your sunglasses holder there. So I hope you guys enjoy that as well. And some other tips for summer nutrition. So these aren't necessarily related to travel, but just good options to think about when you're looking to improve your summer nutrition overall that are available in most places. So farmers markets are really great to look into. You're supporting your local producers. They also have a lot of really good fresh options. Typically they are growing in ways that are really nice for the environment as well. So I'm always a big supporter of farmers markets. Food co-ops as well. So there's things like bountiful baskets that you can look into. You can look into your local area and see what's offered. Usually you can search it on Google pretty easily. But what they'll do is different farms, different producers from the area will go in together and everyone will, add in different vegetables or fruits. Sometimes they throw in other things as well. They could include meat or cheese or some other local food product that they make and include them. And you'll have a pickup every Tuesday or something like that where you go, and you don't necessarily get to choose what's in there. So if you're somebody that likes to cook and likes to explore different ingredients, I would say this is more so for you. If you don't love to cook and maybe it's not something you do on a regular basis, then you might get stuck with a bunch of produce that you're like, I have no plan for this. I don't think I'm going to use it. But if that's something you enjoy, these can be very fun. If you like to grow your own, that's another wonderful option. It can save money. It can be really rewarding in more ways than just the nutrition part of it. It can be really fun to get outside in the yard if you're growing your own. And the neighborhood harvest shares as well. So sometimes you may have neighbors that are that also have gardens, and everyone is willing to go in and share and trade different vegetables. Maybe somebody's growing something that you aren't, and that can be a great way to get fresh produce into your home as well. Okay, that is everything today. So it's pretty short and sweet for summer nutrition, but I hope that you guys found this helpful. What questions do you have for me?
Okay, we do have one that got sent to me. So somebody asked, like, what kind of fruits and vegetables do you recommend that are in season in the summer?
Oh my gosh, there's tons of them. So I guess like just in general, gosh, I'll give you, it's kind of a long list because there's just like so many of them, to be honest, in the summer versus the winter. Squash and zucchini are some of my favorites just because they're really versatile. You can throw them into all kinds of different things. Peppers are in season. So like bell peppers, also spicy peppers like jalapenos and things like that if you like them. Eggplant. A lot of herbs are in season, so that can add really good flavor to your food. Lettuces. Those are probably my favorite like vegetables. Fruits wise, I am a big berry lover. So the nice thing, berries can be very expensive in the wintertime, but in the summer, they're often a lot less expensive, especially if you go to your local grocery store. You'll probably see right now that like blueberries and strawberries and things like that are on sale. So berries are a really great summer produce or summer fruit that is on sale. And then in a lot of places, cherries are often cheaper as well in the summer. So those are probably my favorites for fruits.
Perfect. And then we have another question that is, what are your go-to items? What are your go-to cooler items for road trips?
Okay, yeah, that's great. So go-to cooler items for me are fruit for one. So I really like to include grapes are one of my favorites because they're really like juicy and hydrating as well. I always include a bag of veggies and dips. So I am a big hummus lover, so I'll usually throw a container of hummus in there and put like carrots and the sugar snap peas and maybe some sliced cucumber. You could also put the little baby red bell peppers, whatever veggies you like. You can really add in there. I will always make sandwiches for my family, depending on what everybody likes. I'll usually make them the night before and go ahead and throw them in. And then I always will put crackers and cheese in the cooler, or crackers not in the cooler, but I will add crackers, like a whole grain cracker, like Triscuits or something like that, and either string cheese or sliced cheese in the cooler, and yogurts, just to make sure I've got some good protein in there. Those are things I always have in my cooler.
And then another question is recommendations for kids.
As far as food goes?
Yes, I think so.
As far as like, okay, so I mean, really any of those things can apply to kids as well. Sometimes fruit can be easier for kids than vegetables if you don't have kids that are like huge veggie lovers and they're like thinking that a carrot stick is not their favorite thing. So making sure that they're getting some color and some fiber into their diet. So I would encourage the fruit in that case. Sometimes kids do like more snacky type things. So you might be better if like maybe they didn't want a sandwich, but do crackers, and you could even do like some rolled up deli meat in your cooler and some cheese sticks and things so that they have more things to kind of like pick at and explore for the road trip can be better. I mentioned this when we were talking about airplane food, but the yogurt tubes can be really good also. So if you freeze those and put them in the cooler, they will thaw to a regular consistency eventually, so they can act as an ice pack, but those can also be fun to keep in there as well. And it can always be nice too to have some treats for your kids as well to throw into the mix. So if there's like a candy or a chip that they like, make sure to include a couple treats also.
Okay, and then our next question is how to balance summer treats with everyday nutrition.
That's a really good question. So, my recommendation is always thinking, I don't think that it's a very sustainable or enjoyable way to think about nutrition in terms of like taking things away. So I like to think about nutrition in terms of what can you add to your meal. So and making sure that like your snacks are going to be balanced as well. So if you are making a meal, thinking about usually using like a rule of 3. So do you have a carbohydrate? Do you have a protein? And do you have a fiber in there? So fiber being fruit or vegetable, and really looking for color as well. So 3 things, 3 colors are a good way to think about your plate. And just with that alone, you'll find that you will find yourself like including more fruits and vegetables, more variety in your diet. So variety is key in treats. And if you are trying to avoid all your treats, summer doesn't become fun. So, if you're eating treats outside of your meals, my goal is usually to try to limit it to like, let's say like 1 a day, so if you're going to have an ice cream or something like that, you really don't want to go overboard with that. So if you had something with lunch while you were like at the zoo with your kids or something, maybe at dinner, you're not going to have a treat after that meal.
Perfect. And then this one kind of goes back to when you were talking about the yogurt packs and things like that. So it says, aren't a lot of yogurts high in sugar? What are some alternative ideas for dairy-free?
For dairy-free, in terms of like protein stuff, yeah, and a lot of sugars are high, or a lot of yogurts are definitely high in sugar. So that's a really good question. And the yogurt aisle is massively confusing. I could probably talk for an hour on on all the different types of yogurt that there are. So if you're wanting to go dairy-free, if you're wanting to focus on because there are a lot of dairy-free alternatives for yogurts now. If you want to get something that's actually high in protein, soy products are going to be the only type of yogurt that is high in protein that is plant-based. So like your almond milk and like the coconut milks and based things, those are typically not high in protein unless they've added some other type of protein to it. So instead of doing yogurts, like other good protein sources would be things like trail mix would be a good option. So like nuts and seeds are good. You could do like turkey jerky or beef jerky would be another good protein option as well. Tuna packets, if that's something that you like, can be something that's good also.
Perfect. Okay, and then let's see, let me check. I think that is all the questions that we have. Let me just hurry and check one other place to see. Okay, yeah, I think that is all the questions we have. So thank you so much, Juliana, for your time. That was great, and I think there was a lot of helpful information. And I think we'll wait a second just so people can log off, but that is it. So if anyone has any final questions, go ahead and send them now. If not, have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.